All right, let's see what we have here. Looks like we are live and live. That is a blessing. So, what's going on, everyone? Let's make sure, let's put everything down and minimize these things. So, which is a blessing. All right, let's see who is here early. Okay, cool. We got people then. So it's 5:59. I'm just doing a couple things here so that I can get started. And once I do that, I'm going to hit record. Dismiss that. All right. What's going on, YouTube? All right. Just going to give it a couple minutes to get some people in. Thank you all so much. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to just turn this up a little bit to make sure that everything is copacetic. All right. If you're watching this live, put hashtag live in the chat. Okay, you can hear me. Great. So I want to thank you all so much for taking the time, taking these 30 minutes to tune in. I'm looking forward to engaging you with this workshop, moving forward with this. So I'm just going to give it another moment, but I do want to appreciate those that are coming. So continue to come in. If you're watching this live, put hashtag live into the chat. Hashtag live into the chat. For those of you that may be watching this on a replay, put hashtag replay in there. Okay. So yeah, put hashtag replay. So let's just engage. This is going to be good. This is really going to be good because we're going to get down into some of the deep factors and get to the reasons, the reasoning behind how to survive the motivation crash, what happens beyond day 7. And so you definitely may be surprised by this. Get ready to learn. Not, it's going to be something that you can relate to and get some understandings. We're also going to be breaking some myths around that people have when it comes to their goals, habits, things along those lines. All right. So that's what's going to be key. All right. So it's about 2 past 6. I think I may go ahead and get started. So just be sure. I'm going to be engaging. All right. Yep. I see someone putting hashtag live. Good to see you. Yes, put hashtag live if you are here. Good to see you. Thank you so much. And I'm excited for this one as I was just going through it, helping it, and also utilizing it, knowing that I've used this on previous clients, previous things. It's great to get this confirmation, great to hear this. So I'm excited about this. This is really a follow-up to the day 7. So actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's begin the recording. That's going to be key. Let's do that. All right. So everyone, hey, Coach Trev, accountability coach. Looking forward to this workshop. This is beyond day 7, how to survive the motivation crash. Like I said, if you are watching this live, put hashtag live in the chat. If you're watching this on a replay, put hashtag replay into the chat. I'm excited about this because this is going to be breaking some myths and thoughts and things that we have heard and really applied, thinking that this was truth behind it. Also, we're going to be learning things about ourselves, things that we thought it worked one way, but now we know that it's not about just us. It's not just us, but there's a process in doing things there. So just wanted to be short. Everything is copacetic here. So thank you for putting the hashtag live 6:03. I'm going to go ahead and get started because folks were kind enough to be here on time. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Now, once again, I'm just reminding you, this is a follow-up to the workshop that I did previously called Start, Stop, Trap. Yes, the start and stop trap, how good intentions can lead to broken promises. So that was very good here. But if you haven't seen that last one, this one can stand alone on its own. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen and let's get it over there. All right, and let's go ahead and get that started. And so if you see me looking down, it's only because what I want to do is that confirm that this is sharing on screen. So, and the sound is good. So I want to thank you all for coming. Yep, I see it's being shared on screen. And so let's begin. Let's jump in. So I want to, for everyone that's here, if you were here, welcome back. If this is your first time, introduce myself. I'm Coach Trev and the accountability coach. I've been in the coaching field, training field for about 20 plus years. I'm a certified life wellness coach and those things there. And so I just enjoy helping people to reach to that next level, whether they are looking to write a book, expand their business, start a business, if they're looking to get healthier, any of those things. So this topic really, the topics that I'm doing in this series is exciting for me. So I am looking forward to sharing this information and getting some insight back. So let's jump in. Um, it's good to see some familiar faces from the previous one and some new ones joining us. So thank you. As I said last week, the last workshop, we talked about understanding the start-stop trap. This week, we're getting practical. All right, we're going to get down to that level to how do we apply this. So it's how do you survive the inevitable motivation crashes that happens around day 7? So if you've ever started something strong and then hit a wall around the 1 week mark, this workshop is specifically for you. So if you know anyone that this could benefit from, send them a message, tell them to come in, go to Coach Trev Live, register. That way they can join the live event and they have access to the replay. So let's jump right in. So let's start off with some brutal honesty about what actually happens when we start something new. So, week one, that feels amazing. This is what you're saying. You're saying this time it's going to be different. It's a new month. It's a new week. I've gone past the weekend. This is great. I've got this. I can already see myself succeeding. Those are the phrases that you make in week one. Lo and behold, week two comes in. You're like, oh, this is harder than I thought. What happened to all that motivation I got? When I was on that high, I went right up and now I'm at week two. And then week three happens and the phrase is, maybe I'll try again next month, where I have more time. This month got away from me. Um, all those things. Who here can relate to that? Relate that to week one, week two, and week three. If you can relate to it, type me into the chat. Type me into the chat. I'm gonna put me into the chat because that is relatable to me. Who can relate to this timeline? I'm gonna put me in there because that was me. That was me prior, and different things that happen. So you've got to understand if you can relate to this timeline, put me into the chat, right? So one of the things, let's talk about this. So we've gone through that timeline. This is something I feel that may relieve some pressure. You'll see how it says the motivation crash is predictable. It's not personal, it's biological. So it's something that's going to release some pressure. This motivation crash happens to over 90% of people between day 7 and day 14. Anytime they're starting a new behavior, it's within that time frame that it happens. So what I want you to let you know that this is not a character flaw, nor is it a sign that you're weak. This is not a point you want to be condemning yourself. So what's happening is that your brain is literally, it's rewiring itself. That process, believe it or not, is exhausting. It's tiring. It's time consuming. You know, motivation doesn't mean that you're failing. It means that your brain is working normally. So their brain is processing that. The difference between the people who succeed and the people who stop is that successful people, they expect the crash and they have a plan for it. That's the main difference for those who overcome. They know that it's coming and they have plans to do so. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the what, which is what is happening in your brain during the motivation crash so you can understand why it feels so difficult. Then we're going to talk about the why. why people who succeed long term don't rely on staying motivated and what they use instead. And then we'll talk about the when, which is the key specific timing for implementing your motivation crash proof strategies before you hit that wall. So by the end of this, you're going to have a completely different relationship and understanding with motivation. All right. I'm excited. Let's go. Let's get this going. So this is the neuroscience of what happens in your brain. So this is what happens in day 11. When you start a new behavior, it activates your prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex is the thinking part of the brain. And that thinking part, that handles your conscious decision making. Just want you to understand it handles your conscious decision making. This require so what happens is that since it's conscious, meaning that you're active in it, it requires a significant amount of mental energy. It's kind of like running a computer program that uses a lot of processing power. Now, after about 7 days, your brain it starts to seek ways to say, let's conserve this energy. We see all this going out. After 7 days, it's like, how do I conserve this energy? Because it's exhausting. So your brain is it's trying to regulate. It's saying there's so much output, I've got to find ways to conserve energies. Meanwhile, your old habits, they live in a different part of the brain called the basal ganglia. All right. So the basal ganglia, what that is that's your automatic brain where behaviors happens without conscious thought. So remember, in the prefrontal cortex, that handles the conscious decision making. Your basal ganglia, that handles the behaviors without conscious thought. So what your brain wants to do, it wants to move your new behavior there. But that takes time. It takes energy. It's time consuming. So that's part of the neuroscience that happens. Now, here is the energy equation that explains why everything feels harder after week one. So new habits have a high energy cost. So think about it. When you add a normal life stress, plus, you have daily decisions. You're going to go to the market. If you're running outside, you've got to go pick this person up. You got to get your oil change, what have you. And so you've got your normal life stress, plus your daily decisions, plus maintaining a new behavior because of that. What happens is that all equals a mental overload. So your brain is like being taxed. All this energy is going out, and the red lights are going off. And so what happens is that your brain is going to prioritize survival over self-improvement. It's going to do that because it feels like it's protecting you. So it feels the overload. When a system overloads, it's you may have seen this in movies. Thing system overload is going to shut down in order to protect the entire, in order to protect the integrity of the entire system or the machine, or whatever it is. Same thing with the brain. Your brain is going to prioritize survival over self-improvement. So when the resources are low, the energy is low, the new behavior, that new goal that you want to do, the new goal of writing a book, of getting healthier, of getting additional clients, starting a business, that new behavior is going to get dropped first. So when that happens, that's the exact moment when most people interpret difficulty as failure. And at that point, that's when they give up. But truthfully, what happens, it's not failure. It's just your brain doing what brains do. They're protecting the integrity of the entirety. All right. So now, why motivation feels real but isn't reliable? This is the motivation mirage. So this is the myth I want to bust right now. Everyone ready? Motivation is an emotion. It's not a character trait. It's not part of your value system. I'm pausing on purpose. It's not something like integrity or sincerity, something. It's an emotion. And what happens is emotions are temporary by design. They come and go without control. Now, what happens is what you'll say is, I'll do X, Y, and Z when I feel motivated. I'll do some hiking. I'll climb Mount Everest. I'll write this book. I'll go and get better. I'll learn this instrument when I feel motivated. So you're essentially saying that I'll do the hard things when I feel like doing hard things. So that feeling really comes when you need it the most. So waiting to feel motivated is like waiting to feel like I want to do the hard thing. And it doesn't come that. It really comes, rarely comes. Successful people don't wait to feel motivated. The ones who overcome, they're not waiting for that feeling. They act regardless of how they feel. Why? Because they have systems that make action easier than inaction. And we're going to talk about that. So let me show you the critical difference between goals and systems with real examples. All right, so this is the real example. Your goal might be, I want to exercise 5 times a week. That's the goal. Goal is that. The system is gym clothes laid out the night before, water bottle filled and ready, and a non-negotiable 7 a.m. calendar block. The goal is grow my business. That's the second. The system is to get 10 new LinkedIn connections every Tuesday and do 2 follow-up calls every Friday. So you see the difference? See, the goal tells you what you want. The system tells you exactly what to do, when to do it, and makes it easy as possible to execute. That's the key difference, the critical difference in systems versus goal. So now let's dig in. So now we talked about the what, let's dig into the why. This is why systems work with your brain with it instead of against it. So they work with it instead of against it. It's why, one, systems dramatically, what they do is they reduce decision fatigue. So it's not the mental overload, the immense expenditure of energy, excuse me. Why? Because you're not making the same decision over and over every day. What happens is that once you have that system, you'll see that clear structure eliminates that internal negotiation you have with yourself. It's that voice that says, should I work out today? Should I go to the gym? Should I meet up with this person? Should I join this networking group? Should I all of that, you know, and you're thinking, well, maybe I'm tired. I worked out yesterday and I had this meeting. See, what happens though is when you have a system in place, your system removes the should or shouldn't I debate. They remove that immediately, completely. What they do is the system creates predictability. And that right there, that one word, predictability, your brain loves predictability because what? Because it requires less energy. You don't have to think. This is something that you're going to do. This system is in place. It's less energy. It's something simple. I'm doing it. Done deal. Let's keep it moving. Your brain is loving that. It's embracing that. So what happens too is that when it comes to your system, something powerful that most people miss is that the systems, they don't just create results, they create identity shifts. Yes, they create a complete shift in who you are and what you're doing, what you're about, your being. So let's say, for instance, you have a system for daily reading. That means that you become someone who reads. Let's say you have a system for regular exercise. That means you become, right? You come into being, you come into being as someone who exercises. So identity drives behaviors more powerfully than goals ever could. See, now because that's you. And each time you execute your system, what you're doing is you're reinforcing who you are, who you've become, right? It's not who you will be, it's who you are, that present state. And the funny thing is, you think about this is that when it comes to the system, is that not doing your system behavior, not doing it, that actually starts to feel weird because it's inconsistent with who you've become. So not exercising, not reading, those feel weird because it goes against your being, right? So once again, your identity, that's going to be more powerful than any of your goals. That's why that is so key. So there's something I like to call a momentum multiplication effect when it comes to systems. So systems, they build on themselves in ways that a motivation approaches never can. They can't. So think about this. When you successfully maintain one system, what it does is it builds confidence. And that confidence spills over into other areas of your life. It becomes contagious, infectious. It starts to really branch out. If anyone has seen what your brain looks like, when you have systems in place, they actually create new branches, and those branches begin to infiltrate other areas of your brain. And so those systems, like those branches, begin to spill over into other areas of your life. So what happens, the confidence you get from being consistent in one area makes you more likely to succeed in other areas. And so it creates new possibilities, new thoughts, new challenges, all those things because that confidence is the booster. It's part of who you are, part of your new identity. So you want to think about those small daily actions repeated consistently through the systems you now have, identifying yourself, they compound and they turn into major transformations over time. So this is why people who master systems, not only do they meet, but oftentimes they exceed their original goals because now they're walking in their new identity. Make sense? If this is making sense, put a one to the chat. Put a one into the chat that this is making sense. Put an 11, put a 111 in there. All right. Check the chat. All right. Let's keep on going. So exciting stuff here. Let's go. So here's a paradox that many people won't believe. And this is something that we really wants to break a shift is that this structure creates freedom, not restriction. Okay. Let me go. I'm going to go full screen on this because when people think about structure, you think about these boxes that you're in. And this is that I can only move here. I can only move there. This is all I can do. This is where I can. However, when you think about it, it gives you that structure gives you the freedom to act within that space. It looses any expensive things like, okay, this is the structure, this is where I'm confined in, this is what I need to do, done deal. So, so in the myth, when you're thinking about it, we're so sometimes you may be conditioned to thinking that, well, it's going to be restrictive. I can't go past here. I can't go past there. I can't do that. So it's about having the freedom to be able to go in. Actually, I remember there was an experiment where, and this was shared with me, where there were kids that played in the playground in like a square structure. And so it was pretty big space. And they would play throughout the area, throughout the square, play to the ends and all that. And so one day, the teachers, they decided to experiment. What they did is they took away the fence and let the kids play. What happened though is that when the kids got out there, they didn't see where the box was. So they actually moved in tighter, close to the teacher because they weren't sure where the box was and where their restrictions were. Because you would think that they're no longer in the structure, they're going to go all the way out to the end of the field, all the way out here. But no, they actually tightened in because they weren't sure where it was. So when they had that structure, they knew I have the freedom to go here, I'm good. It gave them more ideas to be able to do that. So yes, structure actually creates freedom, not restriction. Okay, let's go back to the slide. Just wanted to go full screen to really share that. And get a quick sip of water. Excuse me. So structure, like I said, it creates freedom. When you have a system that handles your basics automatically, that's already doing it, that's just, just already, this is what I need to do. I'm pushing this button, I'm pushing that button, I'm pushing this button. What happens is you eliminate the constant decision making about just fundamental behaviors. So think about it here. Um, Steve Jobs. Everyone used to comment how he used to have the black turtleneck and wear the same thing every day. So, but what he was doing was he was eliminating the constant decision making. He wanted to use that energy for something else. So rather than saying, okay, I'm gonna wear, maybe I'll wear this and this matching. No, I'm gonna wear the same thing every day so I can use this energy for something else. So that eliminates the constant decision making. What this does now, it frees up a ton of mental energy, massive amounts of mental energy. And that energy goes for creativity, it could go for growth, and also for tackling like bigger challenges. You become more experimentative. So when you're consistent in your basic systems, you can experiment, you can take risks in more advanced, complex areas. Why? Because you now have a solid foundation, that confidence that you were building to that. So that's why structure in one area of your life actually can create flexibility in others. So now we talk about the when, because timing is everything when it comes to building the crash proof systems. So now we're going to step through what this looks like. All right. So buckle up. Day 1 to 3, when your motivation is still high, this is when you design your system. This is not a time where you're just riding the wave of like, oh, great, I'm here, I'm on the high, I'm great. This is a time when you use to build your safety net. That's the key part between day 1 and day 3. All right. You can even do it before that. A lot of successful people do it before day 1. So that's day 1, day 3. You build your safety net, you design your system. Now, days 4 through 6, this is when you put on the white lab coat, grab the clipboard. This is when you start to test your system and you make different adjustments and refinings based on what you learn. That's from day 4 through 6. All right. So you want to be sure that you are testing this out, making sure that it's going to be what you need it to be. Now, day 7 through day 10, this is when motivation crash happens. And this is when you begin to rely on your system instead of how you feel. That's key thing, relying on your system versus how you feel. So now you got your system in place. Day 11 and beyond, that's where you let the system carry you to success. While many other people, everyone else, is what they're doing is they're starting over. They're in that cycle of going back and forth and condemning in themselves and hoping that they had enough willpower, hoping, saying, I can't believe I'm here again, all of that. Your system is now carrying you to achievement and exceeding your goals. Now, there's a critical difference between building systems before the crash versus after. So before the crash, you think that I should probably plan for when this gets hard. Key. Now, when you're thinking that, that's what we call a prevention mindset. Now, if it's after the crash, you start to think, "Ah, I can't believe I quit again. There must be something wrong with me. I'm challenged by this. What happens? I don't have any willpower." See, that's a recovery mindset. So when it comes to those systems, a prevention mindset will build a system when you have clarity and when you have the energy. The recovery mindset tries to rebuild the motivation when you're already defeated. So you can think of it this way. It's easier, much easier to build a bridge than to try to swim across the river when you're already drowning. So you want to focus on building it before the crash. All right. So, so now you need to recognize when your system needs to take over from your motivation. So what you want to do is watch out for these warning signs. All right. So here's some warning signs. Make note of this. When you start telling yourself you'll skip just today. Now, I was supposed to work out today, but you know what? I've got a lot on my plate, got some errands, so I'm going to just skip up today and I'll double up tomorrow. All right. So that's one. Another one is when you feel resistance before you even start what you're going to do. All right. That's a signal. Another one, when you're making excuses about timing, saying like, I don't have enough time today, there's not enough hours, I woke up late, or I'll do it later when I have more energy. And this last one, especially when motivation feels completely gone and everything feels like a struggle. All of those are signals that it's time to start relying on how you feel and start relying on what you've planned. So that was a key thing. Now you understand that the motivation crash is predictable and survivable. You understand that motivation is not a character trait. It is an emotion, and emotions are temporary by nature. You now know that systems are infinitely more reliable than motivation, especially for long-term success, which is what you're looking for. Now you also understand that prevention beats recovery every day of the week and twice on Sundays. But one thing we haven't covered your specific system, the one that fits your life, your schedule, your challenges, and your goals. Because while the science that I just explained, that's universal, this application has to be completely personalized. It has to be for you. So, question is, if you're ready to build that system that survives when the motivation crashes, let you know I have a few spots available this week for a complimentary consistency breakthrough session. You just want to go to talkwithtrevor.com. You can get right on my calendar. So in this session, what we'll do is we'll design your personalized motivation proof system, and we'll do it based on your specific goals. We'll look at your schedule and we'll look at your lifestyle. And so what we'll do is we design that system for you, and we'll build it before you need it. So we're not building day one, we're building it day -7. And so when the crash comes, and trust me, it will come, you'll be prepared. So you want to remember that prevention is easier than recovery. So notice I only have a few spots available this week. So if you're really serious about getting past this day 7, go ahead and book some time now. Go to talkwithtrevor.com. Fill it out. Let's get on my calendar, making sure that you can book time. Now, for any reason, if you're having trouble or if there's a spot that you can't, that doesn't work for you, there'll be a space for you to be able to either send me a private message or put in the comments that, hey, I booked this time, but I'm looking for another time. I definitely work with you to do that, but I only have a few spots available. So be sure to get on my calendar, limited spots this week. So let's take a moment. Let me know, and I'm just going to check the chat. If you have any questions, because what we did is just reviewing what we did about surviving this. So what we did is just remind you, we talked about what happens during the motivation crash. We talked about why systems work better than willpower and when to build your crash survival plan. So if you have questions really about how to build your specific system for your unique situation, your goals, your business, whatever it is, that's exactly what we'll do together in our one-on-one session. So if you have any questions, feel free, put them in the chat. I'm just going to check the chat to see See what we have here. And so one of the questions that you often hear with that is that if why does the brain act in this manner? Why does the brain not see that it's a new habit? You're doing this. Well, the brain is built to survive. It's not built to survive. Because if you think about it, we talk about how the brain works, but we also talk about a mindset. So your mindset is what's going to really control the brain. The brain is going to say, this is what's comfortable. We are not going to overload the system. We're going to pull back because it's doing what it does to keep you survive, to keep the integrity of the system, basically your mind. What it's saying is this new thing you're trying to introduce, that's something new. That's going to be like, that's going to expend a lot of energy. Nope, we're not going to expend this energy. So that's why we have to create systems in place so that the system is something that's predictable. And your brain is going to look at it and go, oh, that's not new. That's actually a system. We don't have to do any decision making. Sweet. It's going to embrace it. It's going to be it because you are now removing the decision making and you've got this massive amount of energy. So you've got to basically rewire, restructure your brain to look at that new habit, that new goal as a system. Once it sees it as a system, then it's going to embrace it and you're consistent in that. That's what the brain, that's just how the brain is. So that's why you want to be sure that you have as we talked about, the prevention mindset versus the recovery mindset. Okay. Let's see. All right. So I want to thank you all for joining. Thank you for investing another 30 minutes or so in your growth tonight. Thank you so much. Next week, we're going to be tackling the all or nothing trap. So this is when you think perfect, when why perfect plans lead to complete failures. So if you know someone or yourself or overachiever who really, or you're constantly setting those impossible standards, that's definitely for you. Or you hear about people that are setting that, that's setting those standards that are out there. It could be a company, it could be an organization you're with. This is definitely for you. And so for those of you that looked at this, understand what you're doing is you're building foundation for lasting change. All right. Um, be sure that you understand that systems win when motivation quits, right? You don't need to stay motivated forever. You don't need motivation. Really, what you need is the discipline and the systems that, and those systems, as you're doing this, is those systems create momentum. So you really want to exchange motivation, find the momentum, put them in those systems, and put those systems in place. You're going to be motivated at the beginning, but you don't want to stay motivated. You just need better systems, right? So be sure to book your time on talkwithtrevor.com. Get in those few spaces I have on my calendar. I'm excited to help you with personalized things. And understand too, this is just a session, one-on-one, not looking to do sales, just looking to help you to create those systems so that you can not only meet but exceed your goals. All right. So thank you everyone for joining us, and I will see you all next week. Let's stop the share. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me or get on my calendar, book that time at talkwithtrevor.com. All right. I will see you soon. Have an excellent day. And also, if you're not connected to me on any of the social medias, be sure you do that. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, any of those things there. So just search Coach Trev or search Single Source. You can go to my website, sscoachingsolutions.com. Um, and so just be sure to do that. But yes, be sure that you're connected with me online. That'd be great because I do post content every day. So that way you can get those sparks of inspiration, that consistent push there. So connect with me online. Be sure you also subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so that you know that when I may go live, when I post, all of those things so you can stay on top of it, build that confidence, have that momentum, and understand, let your brain indulge the predictability going, yep, Coach Trev is doing that, is doing his live this week, he's doing his workshop, he's doing his posting. That's predictable. Okay. So I want to thank you so much. And I